I will expect that there will be a kind of intersectoral, alliance and participation, so that if you're coming and say, my name is Sheni Azan, this is who I am, this is what I do, then you can verify, what my real information is. We have BVN, we have electoral, voter registration information. So the key is that we have all this data. The only important thing remaining is somebody accepting responsibility to actually coordinate and make this thing, verifiable. So as far as data is concerned, I don't even think that should be the problem.
So Nigeria's problem is not data?
No, it's
actually synchronization of all the
absolutely. Data. Execution is the main thing. Like I said, I've been living in the United States for the past, 20 years. When I show up in a place and I tell people I'm from Nigeria, people are like, wow, I knew this Nigerian, I knew that. You guys are extremely smart. But the question is not data, is not people, it's just taking charge and taking steps to ensure that this time around we are focusing on outcome, not just proposals. There are zillions of proposals. It's ensuring that we take actual steps to turning our vision into reality. And I can assure you, yes, go ahead.
I'm sure you are aware that there are certain parts of this country that are averse to the
first, there are people that don't even have
national identity card, and have refused to go and register.
Of course.
In the United States,
so the information, no matter the database you have, the information is going to be missing off that database.
The database should not be a thing of concern in this issue.
No, because
we don't have any database in this country. That's the absolute. You said Teleco. I am from Delta State.
Yes.
How many people does Teleco have from Delta State in their database? Is it all the women in my village?
No, hold on.
Some of them are not registered voters.
Okay.
Some of them do not put their money in the bank. You want to use BVN as a database. You want to use voter registration. We know there are 60 million registered voters. How many people, even on election day, goes to go and vote from what we know?
In the United States,
and we have another 60 million that is not registered. No, I greatly disagree with you.
Yes. The problem with
I greatly disagree with you. Our database is key. And come to think of it, I'm very surprised that the spokesman for the vice president will say 110 million Nigerians. I don't know where he's getting that data from. And if I take him by his 110, 110 million Nigerians are extremely poor. And you have provided 25 million. You have said you provide 5,000 naira for 25 million. He's trying to run away from their campaign promises. I'm not just criticizing for the sake of criticizing. I'm holding on to the facts down the table. He's trying to say 1 million have been provided for. That's a drop in the ocean compared to the 25 million that was said to be given 5,000 naira when he talks of the cash direct program. And again, he's talking about teachers. If you're going to have 500,000 teachers, I thought he said 1 million, but I think he said 500,000.
500,000.
You're going to have 500,000 teachers. It is very laudable. But then you know that the Senior Staff Association of the universities are on strike. Now, you're not aware. Why are they on strike? Because they're laying off all the teachers in the senior secondary schools and in the primary demonstration schools, which some of us went to. Do you understand? As children, what I'm trying to come from here is that you're trying to create teachers and you're laying off teachers and people are on strike. A lot of people don't know about this. Do you understand? And that's why they're striking. I mean, vice versa. I don't see all these things he's saying, so to say. I very well believe, I pray to God it should come to pass. But it's a huge budget that does not look like it to be implemented. Because if you say you're paying only 1 million from 25 million, from the 500 billion, which she just read out that was provided. How do you relate that now? 5,000 times 1 million.
You see, let me say this to you.
It doesn't. The figures are not falling in.
Let him respond to it because so that Mr. Akonde can do.
I'm not a politician. I am a business person. You understand? And I have track record to back that. Now, every great nation started with an idea. Okay. Now, the next thing is, why don't you let somebody prove the theories and the concept they have, and when they, first of all, you have a plan, and as you begin to take steps, you begin to estimate and understand the difference between your plan objective and the outcomes.
Okay, I agree with you.
Why don't you just let me learn? You see, the problem in Nigeria is that we have so many talking heads, and people don't even take time to execute.
The unemployed will not be part of this scheme.
Can you
are not addressing that.
Nigeria doesn't have the resources.
Yes.
Okay, let me explain this to you. I mentioned the fact that we are working with Central Bank of Nigeria today, and the record is there to verify.
Yeah, didn't we graduate? Beautiful.
Not just graduate, even artisans. We are even dealing with artisans through the
Okay,
CBN
but did you
program.
hear what the
Can you
minister
just let-
said? He
can
said
you just-
unemployed are not parts. That is where I'm coming from.
Can you just let me explain?
Yes.
You see, there's something called SMEDAN, okay? Now, the government
I know
is...
about SMEDAN.
Just hold on. The government is the largest spender in this economy. Now, when the government spends, there's going to be a multiplier effect. Now, the budget they've made, if I were in your shoes, the question would be, how do you go about executing this thing? Now, the man has just mentioned there's going to be an interministerial dialogue. Then the question will not be, how will that happen? You see, because when you have a dream or when you have a plan, your question, your focus should be, how do you get that done? Because let me give you an example, a personal example. I was born and raised there. I wanted to go to business school. I didn't have the money, but the question was that, how do you go to business school? I have to, first of all, take an exam. When you take the exam, you have to write the essay to the school. Once you get essay to the school, then you'll be told whether you are accepted or not. After you are accepted, they ask you, how do you raise the money? Now, when I told people I wanted to go to business school, people were telling me, you are not an American, how are you going to get there? Where are you going to get the money? But the problem is, people were focusing on the end without asking themselves, what is the first step I need to take towards
Which is
the realization?
the question we asked was,
Yes.
this laudable plan,
That was just the plan he was talking
database.
about.
No, we'll
Yes.
get back to Mr.
Yes.
Akonde to explain this plan. We talked
Yeah.
about database. Let me ask you a question.
Yes.
There are segments of this country where they are averse to the national identity card. He's talked about his village where the women are not registered. They don't
Put
have
their money in the
BVN.
bank. They don't have cell phones.
Cell phones.
I'm so glad
So
you asked that.
how do you collate all that
Now,
data?
I have two questions
Which
for
you don't have.
No, I have two questions for you. Should we, because of some people's averseness to plug in into the national information or data grid, hold the entire country back? That's my first question. Second question is that, how do we get those data? We have voters registration card. We just did BVN. We have Teleco. The next step, if I were to have such a responsibility, would be, now we have all this data. How do we pair them to know which are real and which are not?
Okay.
Mr. Hassan, no, Mr. Akonde, before you react, I just want to tell Mr. Hassan something.
Yes.
That once you make a national announcement that it is for the purposes of paying out 5,000 naira a month to those who are not employed, they will all go and register.
That could be, in fact, I'm
25
glad you mentioned
million
that.
unemployed.
They will all go and register.
That
Even those who are averse to giving their details.
Thank you.
You know.
And then they'll be all coming out
Your
of the
grandmother will
wardrobes.
go and register.
Well, that's exactly where I'm coming from. He doesn't even seem to understand. First, don't push the cart before the horse. First of all, do what is right. We know there is no time. But you could have spent this time in gathering the data. You can gather data just like the way you gather the census.
Yes.
Do you understand? You can gather data the way you gather census. That's the best way to gather data, rather than just working from empirical figures that would not make sense at the end of the day. Because I'm still holding on to the fact that the minister said it is not for unemployed graduates, the 5,000 naira, that it is for the vulnerable. And I remember they said vulnerable. I keep saying this so that you can remember, because you are talking from an advanced point of view, which I appreciate. Talking about the training you did in CBN, talking about those who are unskilled and skilled, and you've been able to get 28,000 people is quite laudable, even though it sounds like a drop in the ocean. But what I'm saying here is that they're saying that those who have sent their children to school and have evidence of immunization, meaning they must be parents. That is what it means. If I'm not a parent, will I have a child? That is exactly their own definition of vulnerable. I think the spokesman of the vice president should help us define who they mean by vulnerable, because he's saying they provided for only 1 million, but they told Nigerians 25 million. I'm not just being critical for just
Mr.
the sake
Mr.
of it.
Akonde.
You've been listening to the conversation,
Yes.
and we've gone back and forth about data and managing this data and how it would all tie into this social welfare program being successful.
Yeah, thank you. Let me be very clear. Government is aware of the fact that this is a very challenging situation. The fact that you have over 110 million extremely poor Nigerians. The fact that we don't have what seems to be a strong database. but we are not going to say we are not going to act. We are going to start from somewhere. Talking about the identity and then data issue, there is the National Identity Management Commission, and government has now asked that commission to try to bring together all the data that you have from them, from BVN, from PVC, so that we can collate something that will be reliable.